Hi, this is Kat Sturtz from rockingyourpath.com with another episode of Fast Action Fridays. Today, my special guest is Tim Maudlin from down in the southern part of Indiana. And he's got a topic that I love, which is templates. So, Tim, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a Hoosier, and I can't explain what a Hoosier is, but I am in the southern part of the state. Folks who hear me speak, when I went to Ball State, which is in the center part of the state, they said, you have a southern accent. I guess I do. Michigan
A little
folks,
bit of Kentucky in there.
yeah, well, there's a lot of Kentuckians that cross the river to live here. But Michigan folk, they tend to have that's the broadcast dialect, I guess it is. So that's what I've always heard. But anyway, yeah, I'm Tim from southern Indiana. I'm a father, husband, of wife almost 28 years now. I'm trying to get into this internet market. I've been, those of you who are watching this on video will see a screen behind me with a number of t-shirts, and I'm kind of known as the t-shirt guy. I've gotten into that over the last several years, and I'm now trying to transition more into internet with doing things that can inspire people. My t-shirts were designed to inspire people, and now I'm trying to create content because I love to write, and creating content to inspire people as well.
Right.
That's kind of a real brief introduction. I'll talk more about some of the things I've done as we go through this.
Right, and we will have a free resource from Tim for you later in the show. Before we get there, though, I don't want to miss stating the name of your book, which they can find on Amazon, which is T-Shirts That Inspire, the $89,000 T-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
You want to start there with just a little brief?
Yeah, because I'm basically going to talk about from T-shirts to templates. And I know that might seem kind of odd that I'm going to transition that way, but I really started out with T-shirts. And it's been 7 years ago now that Indiana is prone to having tornadoes. Mm-hmm. And there was a day where my wife went to a women's retreat up north, and I was home with the boys. And we had tornado warnings for the area, and I knew we had to be on alert because it wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. And when the warnings were issued, I told the boys we're going to have to go to our safe place, which is a mile and a half down the road because we don't have a basement. And we get in the car and we drive down there, and I'm getting them secure, and I want to look out to see if I'm seeing where this tornado is, because I'm looking over to the southwest where it should be. And I look around the corner of the building, and there it is. Mm-hmm. And that's when I thought I had just killed them. And to this day, it still sends chills because I had just put them in harm's way. Fortunately, of course, the tornado veered away from us. It did kill 5 people in our community and destroyed some businesses, homes. And I went to bed that night feeling helpless because I didn't know what to do to help people. And I had been using T-shirts to help people. And I thought, well, what if I do a T-shirt that could help relieve the financial burdens that people were going to be under? And so I designed a T-shirt, and I'll make a long story short. It's all in the book if you want to look it up. It's a cheap Kindle book. But suffice it to say, one T-shirt resulted in $89,000 that we were able to give to people in our community that needed help.
That's awesome.
There's a reason why it went from idea to $89,000. It's incredible what happened. But when everything was up and running 3 days later, we were making $1,000 an hour. But then as people started helping, it's just an incredible story of a community coming together. There's a quote that I really love that's never underestimate the power of a T-shirt. And I witnessed that with those T-shirts. The T-shirts that are behind me are all T-shirts that I've made over the years. And when my father passed, some really good friends of ours took those t-shirts and made this quilt and sent it to me. And so I found out when you're trying to encourage people, it comes back to you. And it came back to me in the form of this quilt. And even the shirt, for those of you who are watching, the shirt that I'm wearing today, I still do t-shirts to inspire people. A friend of mine recently passed from cancer, and his wife had been posting a quote on Facebook. And I was watching what she was doing. I knew what was going on. And so we've made t-shirts for that family. And it's just a simple way. I don't want anyone to ever underestimate the simple. Don't overlook it, because simple really is sometimes all you need to do to encourage people. And that's one of the things that I like to do with my t-shirts, and I'm trying to do with my content now as well.
That's a really good point. A lot of times we want things to be perfect and have every element that we think of that could build out a project to be the best it can be. And that's more than people need at that moment. And they need to get something out quickly that does the job, and to build on that rather than wait to start something until it's, quote, perfect. So I love that story. Here in Michigan, we've got plenty of tornadoes too. I've been way too close to too many. I've seen them. I've seen them, twist the tree in the backyard and back on the farm, suck the doors out of silos and all kinds of things. So luckily I do have a basement here. So, okay, yeah. Let's do the switch now to
cool.
Templates. Okay. Why are templates important, and what can you do for us on that?
Well, as I said, the t-shirts were able to encourage, and I think templates can too, because I like to write. And the more I write, I found that there were ways to make the writing process simpler and faster. And I think it goes with your show. It's something you can do fast, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but there are some things about templates that really, really help in that process. And one thing that I discovered, and I'm going to transition one more time to t-shirts and then to the templates, is that when I focused on helping one, I actually helped many. And so as I write, I'm focusing on one person. I'm trying to write to one person, inspire one person. And so help one equals help many, which equals help many more. And so with the templates, I'm able to do that. And I'm imagining there's one person in your audience that I'm speaking to now. And that one person struggles to create content. And I don't know who that person is. I don't know anyone in your audience, but I'm imagining there's someone that struggles to create content. And so I want to inspire that person to consider templates, because templates will help you to do a number of things that can help your community, help you get that content out. And so what I've done is created 3 points that I'm going to share with you today. It's why I love templates. Let me count the ways. And I'm playing off the famous line in the sonnet, how do I love thee? Let me count the ways. So why do I love templates? Let me count the ways. And I'm going to talk about those now as we go through this, the rest of the program here.
All right. And that you've encapsulated basically the free resource people will be able to have access to later on. So let's get right to the tips.
Sure.
What can we do?
The first one, templates are the architecture of content. In other words,
I like that.
They're the solid foundation of content. Now, when I went to school to be an architect up in Ball State University in Central Indiana. And one of the classes I had to take was on structures. And I still remember this to this day. The professor said, structures fail, buildings fall, people die. He got our attention. Well, we understood that you had to have a solid structure. You had to have a solid foundation. And if your content's going to be successful, it has to be built upon a solid foundation too. There's a building term, an architectural term called the cornerstone. And that's the first piece of structure that's put in place. And it's this piece of structure which is the reference point for the entire structure. It determines the position of the structure. And a template will help you build that proper foundation. The template will give you that reference point for your content. It will determine the position that your content takes. And so just real quickly, the templates are the architecture of content. They're the solid foundation, and they're the reference point for your content. With templates, you're getting started on the right foot. You're getting started on the right foundation, and you can start to build content out that's going to point in the direction you want it to go, and that can help people.
I like that, because so often, as you pointed out, people get hung up on where to start. So this provides that framework, but it also helps people figure out where to stop. So there's a boundary to the content you're doing as well.
Right.
All right.
Okay. The second one, why do I love templates? Let me count the ways. I love templates because it's a process I can trust. Now, another thing that you don't know about me is I studied architecture, but I never practiced architecture. The part of architecture I liked the most was the drawing. And so I became an architectural illustrator. And I've drawn projects all over the world. There's one that I'm sure your audience will be familiar with, the Mall of America. That's just in the state next to you. I drew that before it was built.
Isn't it in Minnesota?
It's in Minnesota.
Oh, that's 2 states over from Michigan.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm down in southern Indiana. Okay, 2 states over. I've never been there though.
I've been to Minneapolis, St. Paul, and I've never stepped foot in it either. I've just driven by it. So
yeah.
What's your connection to that?
Well, I drew it before it was built. And as all these projects, most of them I never saw in person. But there was a process that we would go through to create these illustrations. And that's what I want to talk briefly about here. And I've got a confession to make here. I've been an architectural illustrator for almost 30 years. I've drawn since I was old enough to hold a crayon and draw on my grandmother's wallpaper. But I have a confession to make. I'm intimidated by a blank sheet of paper. And it sounds crazy, but whenever I would look at that white sheet of paper, I would tense up because I just saw all this blankness that needed to be filled with art. And I said, well, what am I going to do? How am I going to get there? With the way we created these drawings, we had a process that we would go through. And I'm not going to get into all the minutia. Basically, it was a model, whether it was a physical model or an electronic model, a model, a layout, line art, and color. If we trusted the process, it worked over and over again, and we produced some pretty cool things. Templates provide a step-by-step process too, a step-by-step approach. Now, have you ever looked at a blank screen on your computer or a blank sheet of paper and you're going to try to write and you get kind of nervous? Well, a template gives you something to start with. And if you trust the process, the template will work you through to get from blank to finished content. So it's a trusted process. It's a step-by-step system. And just like my architectural drawings, it had proven results. So that's why I love it so much.
And I know a lot of Rocking Your Path followers and a lot of followers of Fast Action Fridays. We are people who want to help other people, to service them in a way, to provide products and services that help them. And until you have completed projects, things people can read, things that people can do based on what you supply, you're not really helping them, and you're really not helping yourself grow your business either. So I love I love templates, and you're right, they are a godsend to helping you get started and not having to face that blank screen. I'm still a paper person. As much as the work I do on the computer, one of the reasons why I start on paper and anytime I'm stuck, I go back to paper is because I can doodle just so something's on that blank sheet to get me started. So I love that.
Right. Yeah,
all right.
They're great.
I know you've got another tip for us.
Yeah, I've got another one that I wanted to share today. And this kind of goes along with, you started the right foundation. You have a process in place now to create your content. Another reason I love templates is because they help me stay on message. And I want to reference a movie line that I'm sure you're all going to get. If I say lions and tigers and bears, you'll say,
I'm wearing my ruby red slippers.
Yeah. Well, we all know the Wizard of Oz line. And they're on that road to the yellow brick road to Oz. And I want to think of templates as the yellow brick road to content. And it's not lions and tigers and bears that we're scared of here. It's rabbits and squirrels and goldfish. Okay? And anyone in your audience that has ever tried to, well, you've seen the bright, shiny objects, or you tried to create content, it's easy to get distracted and go down a rabbit hole on something. It's easy to go off topic by whatever squirrel grabs your attention. And then
I want to point something out here. One of the reasons we love bright, shiny objects, rabbit holes, and squirrels is because when we run into something that starts getting hard in what we are building, whether it's writing an article or putting a project together, that alleviates having to face that next hard step. So we diverge, and we do it consciously, more consciously than we give ourselves credit for. So you're saying that a template can help you stay in the moment, get through that hard spot to finish what you're doing.
Right.
Correct?
Yes. Well, and if you've got that process, you just know I'm going to go to the next step and the next step and the next step. And it's going to keep me on message through all the steps. So when you get done, you're going to have a piece of content that's on a solid foundation, and it's going to be a message that you'll be happy to give someone.
With a definitive end in sight. So you know where you're going to wrap up this piece.
Right. And the other thing that it helps you about staying on message is it helps you to stop being too wordy. And we understand that our attention spans these days, they're not like they used to be. There's just so much stimulus coming at us that it's easy to get distracted. And so you've got to make your point, stay on point, and get to it quickly, or you're going to lose the attention of your client or whoever you're trying to.
Your audience, your reader. Audience. Right.
So templates in this case, with staying on message, you reduce distractions, you don't get too wordy. And so that's another one of the reasons I love them so much.
You said something to me in an email when I sent you the details about being a guest on Fast Action Fridays. And that was, you liked that I gave you a bullet point of what to supply me and what to expect about this show. And in essence, that's the template for the show for each episode. And it helps me to understand the scope of what we are going to talk about. And it helps the guest know we have X amount of time to do this in, how to stay on target, and this is what you're going to provide, 3 to 5 tips. So I get extra points for having a template.
Oh yeah, and that was, I wanted to make sure I brought that up because your whole process, it's a template. And it made the process, it makes this interview go a lot smoother. Now, the one thing that I'll say here, that this is kind of a bonus tip, is that some people will think that templates are restrictive, that they don't allow for creativity. Now, just by the fact that you have a template for your show, we're talking about templates today. We've talked about architecture. We've talked about a number of things, but I'm sure you have other guests. I mean, you have all kinds of topics you talk about that all funnel through the same template. So creativity is not hampered at all by using templates. In fact, I think it enhances your creativity.
I agree.
Because there's a template that I've used that you might not be aware of, but I've used a template to create the content for this program today. And this template is something that I'd like to gift everyone who is listening, because I've given you 3 reasons why I love templates. I actually have 9 or 6 more. There's 9 altogether. And what I've done is I've taken the word templates as an acronym, and I've just taken those letters and I have built out content for each one. And so I've given you 3. There's 6 more in this particular piece of content. Plus there's the actual template, the acronym template that explains how to use all of this, put it all together.
Right. And for listeners, this is where you would go to get Tim's free resource. It's Tim Suggests. So TimSuggests.com/cat, KAT, my name. Yep. So you'll get there. If you're watching this, you'll see the link below, or check the YouTube description or the blog post. We'll have a live link there. If you're listening to that, you can go to TimSuggests.com/cat and get this free resource with Tim's 3 reasons why I love templates. And he's going to count the ways for you in that template. So I already understand that getting this resource, I'm going to have some foundational actionable steps to have a template to build content right from there. And we've got a minute or two. Tell us a little bit more about what you're doing to make templates available for people and to help them use templates more effectively.
Okay, sure. What I'm doing, I'm partnering with a friend of mine, Jeff Herring, and he got started in his online business with templates, and he has taught me about the effectiveness of them. And then I thought, well, you could go a lot further with this too. And so we've come up with a template club. And what we're trying to do with this is to expose people to templates. And we thought it would be cool to build a community where we provide a new template per month. And then within that club, that community, we provide the template, we give a video training on the template. And then what I really like about this concept is we have what we're calling the template lab, where we do case studies. So it's not where you just give somebody a template and say, okay, go figure it out. We actually tell people how to use it, and then we show them examples or case studies of the template in use. And so there'll be some things in the show notes with details on that. And if you go for the free resource, there'll be some information on that as well.
And I can attest to Jeff Herring using a lot of template formats for a lot of his own writing and teaching, because I've been a student of Jeff's for many years, in particular helping me to structure blog posts. I mean, that's one area where I really found Jeff's training helpful. So Tim, thank you so much for being here today. I'm glad here in Michigan, our big thunderstorms that knocked out some local electricity are not visible today, and no tornadoes running through either your area or my area today. If you're watching this, make sure and go check out Tim's resource or him on his website, which is
dowhatyoucannow.com.
Okay, I couldn't read it from my own notes here. Dowhatyoucannow.com, and look him up on Facebook and a few other places on social media. Thanks, Tim, for being here.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, Kat.
And this is Kat Sturtz, closing up another episode of Fast Action Fridays. Remember to check in next week when I will have another great guest. I've got lots of them in store. And remember to always keep rocking your unique path to success. Bye.